Hello. This is Antje from Byte Shuffle. Thank you for always watching our videos. This time, I've put together an overview of how to approach the Eldrazi matchup when playing Doomsday, including gameplay strategies and sideboard considerations. There's also a link to the pile breakdown video in the description, so feel free to check it out. Here is the deck list we will be using this time. It's a bit weak, but since I have draw spells, lands, and disruption, I'll keep. I'll dig for a land. I stacked the deck in the order of Thassa's Oracle Street Wraith Swamp, then drew a card. It looks like my opponent is on Eldrazi. I'll search for Doomsday. I'll counter it with Daze. I'm going all in. From here, I'll generate more mana for the combo. Since I have 2 pile openers in hand, I'll secure blue mana with Lion's Eye Diamond and aim to win with Thassa's Oracle. I'll fill the remaining slots with suitable cyclers. I build my pile in the order of Street Wraith Thassa's Oracle Edge of Autumn Street Wraith Lion's Eye Diamond. I'll activate Lion's Eye Diamond in response to the pile opener. I'll win with Thassa's Oracle. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. First, the conclusion. I will explain it step by step. These are the key cards in Eldrazi that impact the Doomsday matchup. First, to increase the overall speed of the deck, I'll add Lotus Petal. In exchange, I'll cut Cavern of Souls. Since my opponent doesn't play counterspells, it's the lowest value land in this matchup. Next, let's talk about Chalice of the Void. They almost always aim to lock out 1-mana spells. By using cards like Lotus Petal and Cabal Ritual, I can work around these, so I'll only counter Chalice of the Void when it's truly game-breaking. In A&T, it's common to reduce the number of Cabal Rituals against stompy decks. But in Doomsday, since I can ignore Chalice of the Void more easily, Cabal Ritual remains a high-value mana accelerator. Next, let's talk about Disruptor Flute. If it's played before Doomsday resolves, I can respond with a counterspell. And if it's after Doomsday resolves, I can deal with it using Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. If it resolves and hits the battlefield, I'll try to get through it by generating mana with ritual effects. Next, let's talk about Null Rod. It affects my Lotus Petal and Lion's Eye Diamond, but unlike with A&T, it's not game-ending. As long as I keep it in mind when building my pile, it should be manageable. Next, regarding Thought-Knot Seer, my game plan should be to resolve Doomsday before my opponent reaches their comfortable 4-mana plays. That way, I can stay ahead and avoid letting them take control. I think the best approach is to counter only the truly game-breaking plays and aim to win through speed. Next, let's talk about Sowing Mycospawn. Since it not only has a land exiling ability but can also search for Wasteland, this deck seems to make better use of Wasteland than other archetypes. When building the pile, I think it's important to be very mindful of Wasteland. Next, let's talk about Kozilek's Command. It can remove Thassa's Oracle, and if I cast Thassa's Oracle with an empty library, the scry mode will result in a loss. It's better to go for Thassa's Oracle with at least 1 card left in the pile. There are times when I feel like I want Thoughtseize to deal with cards like Sowing Mycospawn or Kozilek's Command. So while I'd normally want to cut all discard spells against stompy decks, there are situations where I might want 1 in the pile depending on the board state. So I'll leave just 1 copy in the deck. Next, regarding Mindbreak Trap, if I don't cast 3 or more spells, it won't be cast for free. Starting from ritual-based mana acceleration. As long as I stop at casting Doomsday, I can ignore its effect. When casting 3 or more spells, it might be wise to check in with your hand and evaluate the risk. I'll mulligan since I'm looking for a faster hand. I'll keep since I can likely go all in within the first few turns. I'll put the dual land on the bottom. Chalice of the Void is set to x equals 1. The Surveil effect sends it to the graveyard. I'm going all in. From here, I'll generate more mana for the combo. Since at least one wasteland is likely to come from my opponent, I'll include a land in the pile. Since Chalice of the Void is locking out 1 mana spells, if I'm going to include a land in the pile, I'll make it a fetch land so it can also serve as a pile opener. Next, since it seems like my opponent might be holding up Kozilek's Command, I'll include Force of Will in the pile. If Chalice of the Void weren't locking out 1 mana spells, I might have included Thoughtseize in the pile, but since I can't cast it this time, I went with Force of Will instead. I'll fill the gaps in the pile with Cyclers. Since I still have some life to spare, I chose Street Wraith. From here, all I can do is hope they don't have Sowing Mycospawn or a second wasteland. I built my pile in the order of dual land Thassa's Oracle, Street Wraith, fetch land, Force of Will. And with that, the adventure comes to an end. I'll mulligan since I'm looking for a faster hand. I'll keep since I can likely go all in on turn 1. I'll put Personal Tutor on the bottom. I'm going all in. From here, I'll generate more mana for the combo. I'll scout ahead with a discard spell. I took out Chalice of the Void. Since there's a chance Chalice of the Void will shut off 0 mana spells, I'll include a land in the pile as a backup against Wasteland. For the same reason as before, I'll pair it with a fetch land so it can also serve as a pile opener. I'll fill the gaps in the pile with Cyclers. After this, I made a mistake while building the pile. Since my opponent might be holding up Kozilek's Command, I should have left at least 1 card in the pile. Specifically, I think I should have cast Thassa's Oracle while leaving 1 Street Wraith in the pile. Next, I'll show an example of what not to do. I built my pile in the order of dual land Thassa's Oracle, Street Wraith, Edge of Autumn, fetch land. Since I don't have enough pile openers, I'll pass the turn. I'll use my pile opener to start drawing into the pile. I'll win with Thassa's Oracle. Lastly, I have an announcement. I'm posting the concepts behind the images used in my videos, as well as small flavor-inspired stories, in the YouTube community section. Additionally, I'm selling merch for the channel through the link in the description. If you're interested, be sure to check it out. Thank you for watching up to this point. I apologize for the many play mistakes. I hope to improve at MTG together with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. See you next time. This is Antya.